This is Scry Mind bringing another Warcraft 3 audio commentary. This is going to be another 1v1 game with Undead versus Human. And this is going to be, once again, a little bit of a different strategy from both me and the Undead player. I will be the Human in this replay. And this is Twisted Meadows. Offers a little bit of some other opportunities as far as creeping goes that are pretty good for the human player. And again, the Goblin Laboratory near the Undead base can also provide sort of an extra threat with sappers and stuff like that. So now I'm going to fast build my altar and barracks for the purpose of fast creeping. Now, I don't know immediately if he's going to go for an early hero harassment build or if he's going to go for Fiend, which is going to be usually a later hero or something like that. So, I don't really know at this point what he's going for, but Human have the unique racial ability to fast build their or power build their buildings with multiple peasants. And while it costs extra resources to do that, it lets them do things that other races just can't do. Like, you can, taken to the extreme, you can have your hero out and probably get level 2 before, at the very extreme, before they can even stop you. Now, that's going to be sort of a really risky situation because, you might have to fast build it with multiple peasants, and then militia creep or something like that. But even with sort of just one extra peon making it, I'm getting my hero quite a bit faster, about 50% faster or more. So, I guess that's sort of logical since you're spending or putting one extra worker on there as opposed to 2. So should be twice as fast. That's not 50%. I guess I should have said 100% faster. Or 50% of the time to build a hero. So, but at any rate, I notice he's ghoul scouting. So a lot of times when humans do this on this map specifically, they're going to immediately run to the Goblin Laboratory and start creeping. The flip side is on this replay, in this game, I've decided to be aggressive and pressure the player himself. Now, one thing I do know about this matchup is, regardless of what unit choice the Undead player gets, if you show up, with the Archmage and Footman a little bit earlier than normal, it offers you a lot of opportunities, depending on how they build their base. If he doesn't have this Nerubian Tower, it's going to afford me a little bit more, it's going to let me be a little bit more aggressive. But regardless, these ghouls are going to be pretty easy to start taking out with the summons and the footmen. Notice they don't have any armor. They only have 340 hit points, and they do about the same amount of damage as the footmen. So, but the footmen have 2 armor and 420 hit points. And then you take into account the 3 extra units from summoned water elementals. And the water elementals are pretty tanky, and they do a lot of damage as well. And then the Archmage is ranged, of course. So, as long as you can avoid the Nerubian Tower or, whatnot, or a Hero Surround or something like that, you can afford to be pretty aggressive even against ghoul builds. Against Fiend builds, the target in that situation is usually, it still can be either Acolytes or Ghouls, but if they get an early tower, then, maybe you can try to take their shop out before they, as it's going up, or just do some damage, make them repair it, whatever. And you're not really going to be in danger as long as you micro of losing much. Now notice I've got, 5 footmen, and I'm going to go ahead and come over here and treat this mercenary camp with no militia. So this is going to be quite a bit easier with like 5 footmen and all these militia. It's going to be really low risk as long as you micro. And I also crept his green spot out, so You know, I should be way ahead of him on hero experience. Now, if he creep jacks me right there, that would have been bad news. But you know, I figured he might try to go for his orange or something. You know, maybe run over here to this tavern. I mean, not tavern. This Goblin Laboratory or something, you know. So now I can pick up the Berserker and the Troll Priest. It makes it even less risky since I've got healing and, you know, some good DPS. And so notice I haven't even teched yet. He actually hasn't either, which is very unusual. Maybe since I was playing aggressive, he thought he should stay with tier 1 a little bit longer. Maybe he's just bad, I don't know. But at any rate, he is staying at tier 1 along with me for quite a bit longer than normal. Again, maybe it was because he suffered having to use those wood ghouls for so long to defend the harass. Maybe that was the reasoning behind his delayed tech. Though he does have about 300 wood, so maybe that's not the case. But anyway, I see that he's. I want to make sure he's not expanding because while it's pretty easy to harass an undead expansion when it's going up, if they get an expansion rolling for any amount of time and you don't, the undead is going to be very strong with an expansion. You know, he was pretty strong with their expansion, but you know, a lot of times people say if you let an undead get an expansion, they're going to be, you know, it's going to be a lot better for them because they've got some really strong tier 3 and stuff to go with, and you know, especially if they get up some towers, it can be really annoying. So this map does have sappers that can really take advantage of, really take the towers out usually. So, but one thing I'm going to take advantage of is the Goblin Laboratory. Went ahead and got a shredder because there's a lot of chances to expand on this map, a lot of gold mines, and you know, I haven't actually opened up any yet, but later in the game, you know, having all that wood is going to be pretty good. You know, that's actually a decent unit in a pinch to use against fiends because the shredder does a ton of damage, 3 armor, 600 hit points. Now it's pretty expensive, so you don't want to carelessly lose that in a fight, but you can't nuke it either, so you know, you can repair it, so you know, if it comes into your base, it can be sort of a last ditch defense, kind of like militia. But so I'm going to go ahead and pick up a sapper and a zeppelin. I did use reveal to look at this gold mine once again. He was very sneaky. He saw me scouting that gold mine on the left side of the map. I don't know if that was the reason he expanded up here, but he expanded sort of out of the way, which sort of serves him well for a while. I don't actually scout this for a bit, though I am kind of worried about him expanding, especially since I saw him at tier 1 for so long. And now he's got all these towers, but he's only got one tower really near his gold mine. And I'm going to sort of paint these towers with a water elemental, so, and I'm going to sneak in here, and you can do a lot of damage if you drop in the back of an undead base. Kind of similar to what a lot of players do in StarCraft, you know, drops with, you know, drop ships or whatnot to go for the lurkers. They're pretty easy targets with the ghouls and acolytes. So, I'm going to get, and again, Undead, even, you know, these towers are really the only anti-air he's got. He doesn't have web yet, so, you know, he's going to have a hard time knocking down his Zeppelin as long as I'm careful. So, notice he lost several things, 2 acolytes, I think 2 ghouls at least, maybe 3. I don't think I lost anything, maybe 1 footman. I think I was able to save most of them. And I'm going to come over here to this gold mine, I believe, and scout it. I'm going to build a farm over here to, you know, at any time use reveal, maybe get some sappers if I need to, or but mostly for reveal. Because I want to make sure, you know, I don't want to run into his fiends, obviously, with the Zeppelin. It can be very problematic when they get web, which I think he's got now. And yeah, you know, just running into his army itself, he can pretty much quickly nuke me down. Notice I still haven't actually scouted this expansion, so, you know, really smooth move of him to put it up there. Though he is not getting, for some reason, he's sort of not really taking advantage of it, not building extra acolytes on it yet, but now notice I've thrown up some arcane towers. I was sort of a little bit worried about him pushing me, and I probably would have been much better off to have to have guard towers, instead of 3 arcane towers, since he's probably not going to run his Death Knight into those or anything. But the arcane towers aren't going to get extra damage against the destroyers because of Magic Community in terms of feedback. But at any rate, I'm going to continue harassing his main base for lack of anything better to do while I tower up my base. I notice he's still tier 2, so I've got plenty of time if any sort of destroyer push is on the way. Even webbing my Zeppelin with all these units in it, just the water elementals and the Archmage alone were sufficient to get that main kill. And once that goes down, I sort of lucked out there and was able to drop these units before he kills these Zeppelin. I think on some of that obnoxious penalty when the units fall out of the Zeppelin when it dies. But so notice I'm going to get, I just did miss that goal, but I think I killed 2 Acolytes and a Fiend there, with not many losses, maybe 1 footman or something, but really serving to hurt his economy. He's throwing up another crypt, sort of an odd choice, I would say, and he's added a Dreadlord second, which again with Fiends is pretty odd. It is going to give him one sort of thing that is unusual for Undead in tier 2, which is something that can sort of force pitch battles. Again, if you get slow on my hero, I mean not slow, but sleep on my hero before I can town portal, or I'm trying to run, he can sleep units and catch up to him and get kills. It sort of functions a little bit like Ensnare, though you can cancel sleep by attacking units or dispelling, but it is going to take some time to do that. So again, really, we're just sort of playing the waiting game. He's sort of wasting time, but he's got the expansion, so he probably doesn't have it fully filled with Acolytes, so that's sort of his mistake there. I'm not entirely sure what the deal with that is, but he's hanging around. He's got a Fiend over here. He's got all these towers he spent money on. Sort of a real waste of money, since I'm mostly avoiding those front towers, but it's going to prevent me from pressing his main. And again, with this expansion, he probably feels pretty confident that he's doing okay. He's leveling his Death Knight pretty well. He's level 4. I think he's actually potentially, no, he's not quite ahead of me in experience. I'm level 5, but he does have the second hero, so but now I'm finally throwing the expansion up, and I'm going for tier 3, and trying to remember, I'll have to look when my footman, when I drop my footman, what sort of upgrades I've got. I don't know that I've done a lot of upgrading on units right now, since I've been buying all these shredders and goblin laboratories, goblin sappers and everything, but and shredders. But so I really want to avoid those towers, and I know he's leaving Fiends in there from earlier, so probably don't want to take too many chances here. So I'm gonna buy an invisibility potion and run my Archmage in first, and this water elemental tank, and I realize he's really set up to defend the faction base now, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit this tower. He's gonna TP, and I portal out. I don't want to lose units to level him up any more than he already is. And so he's really not getting much out of. He's got 3 auras actually. He picked up Devotion Aura, but Vampiric Aura isn't really doing too much for him. He's not bringing his tools to the battle. He does have some guards, but I'm not actually going air, which I don't know if that's what he's assuming. That's why he made the gargoyles. But he's got this expansion, so I think I want to say I finally did reveal it, and so I know it's up there. I want to go harass it and try to keep tabs on his army, because as long as I get there first on the harassment, he's not really going to be able to do some damage and then force TPs and stuff. I probably should have just went in there and went for as many Acolytes as I could. I don't know if I actually knew he had a Dreadlord at that point. I might have, I might not have. Probably felt like I could run away, but with sleep he was able to, and level 2 aura, he was able to chase me down pretty easily, and level 2 in holy aura. And
Our gold
but
mine is running low.
I actually have one attack upgrade on these siege engines, which is decent. You know, siege engines are really strong against undead, especially if they're going fiends before they get anything else. Specifically, you know, maybe meat wagons or with corruption, or you know, Pan the Third, or a lot of times undead like to get a Pan against human for various things. Mostly the mech units, but Pan is good against casters and footmen as well. So pretty much good against everything but breakers, maybe knights and griffins, but the siege engines you can really you know, you can make, you know, just a small force of them and send them at expansions, main base, and fiends get a huge damage reduction on when attacking these fortified armored siege engines. Even with no armor upgrades, it's gonna be you know, they're gonna be sort of a nightmare for them to deal with. So notice he's gonna TP over here, and I'm actually harassing both his expansions right now, which you know, him TPing to this base allowed me to pretty much take this other expansion down with no trouble. He's not gonna have another TP, so, and he still lost this gold mine because the siege engines are just, you know, fortified armor and they do siege damage. And his entire army is pretty much piercing. So 3 siege engines, and I was able to knock his towered expansion out, even though he TP'd there pretty quick. So, and then this army is going to be able to take his other expansion down. So, notice that one got 48 food, he's at 60, and yet towers up, but he was unable to prevent me from doing that. Now, you know, I know siege engines are, you know, that's all they, pretty much their main purpose is to knock buildings down and to get anti-air upgrades, but, you know, mostly to take out buildings. That's one thing Undead really, they're kind of limited on their sort of armies that can sort of go for that playstyle. Meat wagons kind of, you know, it's a lot of resources, and usually Undead's only running on one base. And if you start investing in meat wagons, you know, they're pretty easy to kill, and you know, they don't get armor. They can't get armor upgrades, which is annoying. Whereas the siege engines can get 3 armor upgrades. So, you know, I can make them. You know, they're already way more sort of tanky than the meat wagons because of their fortified armor in most circumstances, but and then they can get more armor upgrades. So, and they're actually cheaper. So food and resource wise, they're cheaper than meat wagons. So, but they are tier 3. So I guess you know, that's just the way it goes. But so right now I'm just gonna keep harassing. I pretty much got him on defensive now, and he really doesn't have an answer for these siege engine drops. I can just send 1 or 2 siege engines, and my army, you know, while it's pretty small with defend and these summons, you know, they can be pretty threatening. Even with this towered up main, notice he got these towers, but defend is really helping me out. And these water elementals at level 3 are just monsters. 900 hit points, 2 armor, 41 to 49 damage, ranged, average attack speed, and yeah, so they can hit air, they can hit ground, under range, so you can sort of avoid some of the towers. And they're just called mana, so clearly going to be pretty good news for me. So notice in a standing fight, his army is really, you know, it would really pretty much crush my tiny army. But a lot of my resources went into expansions and towers, and then, you know, siege engines, and yeah. So, but I can't fight his army with mine, honestly, and. But I didn't even need to. All I need to do is just send, you know, a couple of siege engines, really good timing, split attack, and you know, an otherwise arguably close match was really just easy mode. Now again, that's sort of one of the reasons why Undead like to try to exploit a timing window, a tier 3 push or a tier 2 push, because they don't want to get into this sort of sprawled out macro sort of game situation, especially against human on a map with 6 4 sort of easily expandable gold mines, and then 2 spawn
Our town
locations,
is under
and then
siege.
4 islands. So that's a lot to scout. You know, if you sort of slack on your scouting for just a little bit against human, you know they can easily, very easily sneak an expansion and towers, and that, you know, makes it very annoying to deal with. Or, you know, just sneaking expansion with no towers if you don't scout it. You know, it can go up in a pretty short amount of time if they power build it. And then, you know, you're sort of on the clock when you have to, you know, deal with it, because you notice it's really easy for Undead to sort of take out expansions with their tech units. Even with footmen, with defense, you know, you can sort of ignore towers to some degree. And then that map has 4 goblin laboratories for sappers, so really a little bit difficult for Undead to try to play sort of that kind of play style against a human player, as long as they play correctly. Notice he killed, he had a level 5 and 4 hero, he killed more units than me. I killed way more buildings, so but that was sort of at the end of the game when I had the siege engines rolling, and so he had the larger army, and the more experience, and really the better heroes in sort of a pitched battle to fight, because he could just sleep the water elemental, sleep units. You know, if he'd have got some abominations, brought the ghouls, you know, he had dual aura, stuff like that. So, and level 3 death coil, pretty strong, but I really just avoided any sort of actual head-on battle when I avoided head-on battles, but I didn't really try to fight any sort of sustained, pitched battle against his army. I was really just trying to slow his economy down, and then, you know, when I wasn't doing that, I was creeping, so, and trying to creep more efficiently than him, which I think human in the early game sort of can do that with militia and everything, and their regeneration scroll, and then the access to the mercs and everything like that. So pretty good game, pretty interesting strategy with the Zeppelin, I would think. That would be enjoyable to watch. Maybe not the best competition. I don't remember this guy's record. He didn't exactly do the standard. Spent a lot of money on towers. Maybe had a bad base build, but other than that, you know, he was clever enough to sort of sneak an expansion in an out-of-the-way spot that I didn't really expect him to do. And it sort of paid off. He didn't really take advantage of it fully, since he was sort of slow to get the acolytes on it, but again, it maybe gave him a little bit more of a chance than if he wouldn't have expanded. But anyway, so that was just another different sort of strategy for a human. Again, his strategy, I don't know if it's necessarily awful, but going just mass fiends with, you know, the Dreadlord second didn't add a whole lot. He might as well have just went carrying swarm instead of hit the campaign button there, but he might as well have just went carrying swarm if he was going to mass fiends and you know, not go for sort of more of a melee army to take advantage of the aura. But you know, with carrying swarm, you can sort of level 2 carrying swarm, you can harass expansions somewhat. If they're towered, you know, it's not going to hit the towers, and you're probably going to get hit with arcane towers and stuff, but you know, in battle it's pretty decent as well against a lot of stuff, though you might as well just go Panda if you're going to go sort of utilize it that way. The Panda doesn't really offer the same sort of slowing with, you know, sleep is a little bit maybe more effective to prevent running and stuff like that, but Breath of Fire hits buildings, and you know, Drunken Haze is a little bit more battle effective than Vampiric Aura in this situation with his fiends and everything. But hopefully you found that entertaining, somewhat informative. You can utilize Zeppelins against Undead sort of in the tier 1 and early tier 2 stages. a lot of times can be annoying. If you avoid the towers and do not get webbed. If you get webbed, it's going to be sort of bad news, especially if you haven't got your units out of it. You're gonna end up wasting a TP, probably losing units, and not getting any kind of advantage there. So, but that's one playstyle you can go for. And this is Scrymind signing out.